back for our second episode of Life Aboard the Ark, and this one is a very special episode that we're calling Wildlife with Warden. And as you may or may not have guessed, we're here with Dr. Warden, one of our associate veterinarians, who sees a lot of our exotics and a lot of our wildlife. What qualifies you to talk about wildlife?
Probably just the fact that I see them all the time.
Okay, great.
But also, in vet school, I did a lot of training with just zoo animals in general, and at the zoo they actually have a wildlife rehab facility, and while we were there we did a lot of work with them. So it was birds and squirrels, and they had bears at one point, I think maybe otters at one point, pretty much anything that comes from the wild in North Carolina, you name it, they had it.
Okay. So the first thing we're going to talk about today is rabies vector species, which in North Carolina you're thinking of your raccoons, your fox, and to a lesser extent your coyotes. And we have one thing that we want to say about rabies vector species.
Yeah, the big thing is just don't mess with them. You know, rabies is a fatal disease. If you get rabies, you are almost guaranteed to die. There have been like 3-4 people, that survived getting bitten by a rabid animal, and they had to medically induce a coma to get them to survive. You don't want that. Leave them alone. Call animal control. Is the big takeaway. We don't even treat them here anymore. We've had too many issues with things that were coming in with not finding rehabbers, because I don't actually know if we have any rabies certified rehabbers in the area. And then there were things that were having neurologic issues, which is a big sign of rabies, that they being whatever animal control was in charge of it, weren't listening to me about, and I'm like, these need to be tested, and I was just getting told no. So for the greater good of public health, if you see them, leave them alone.
Yeah.
Or call animal control if it's injured. But,
if you get a bat in your house, you gotta get rabies vaccines for that. And your dogs do too, and so do your cats.
Bats are a fun one because you don't always know if you get bitten by a bat or scratched or any of the other things that can happen to cause transmission of rabies. So if you find one in the house, if you can safely trap it, net, pillowcase, whatever you have to do, call animal control. Get yourself and your animals vaccinated. Yep.
It sucks, but it's better than getting rabies, I suppose.
Yeah. You know, rabies is not fun.
No.
Like, if you had to pick a disease, don't pick rabies.
Don't pick rabies.
No.
So that's easy. Just don't touch them.
Yep. And I will say, too, there are, in, weird parts of the states, stoats and weasels. Those are considered rabies vectors. So if you ever somehow find yourself stumbling upon one of those, don't mess with it.
No, that'll tear you up. I would not want to pick up a stoat or a weasel out of the wild.
We had one come in a few years ago. I don't remember what ended up happening with it. It was really lethargic. I think we euthanized and they ended up testing that one, but I don't remember for sure.
No, we don't. We don't want that here. Thank you, though.
Yeah.
No thanks. So small furry wildlife that we might deal with are going to be your squirrels, your possums, and your rabbits. We see a lot of those. It is currently spring, early spring, so everything is procreating, everything is having babies.
Baby season, yeah.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
So I guess let's start with what we see the most of, which is going to be squirrels. We've seen, I don't know how many squirrels already this year, 10, 15 probably?
A few. I feel like they're pretty on par with possums, weirdly enough, but either way. We don't see many baby squirrels come in here. I feel like most of them are adults. They bite, it hurts. I have been bitten, I still don't have feeling in the side of one of my fingers from it. Try your best. Any of the wildlife that you're going to try to pick up, just try not to get bitten is one of the big takeaways. Or like the birds of prey that we'll talk about in a minute. Talons are bad.
Talons hurt.
Ignore
talons are really, really bad.
But yeah, squirrels they're feisty little guys.
Yeah.
We see a lot of adults. They're usually after a big storm, people will find them on the ground and they're soaking wet and they're cold and they're worried about them, which is fair. That's one of the few appropriate times that I'm like, yeah, we should probably see that squirrel. But if you just see one in your yard and it's acting a little off, keep an eye on it first. Give it a couple of hours and see if maybe it just had a little tumble and it's a little stunned. They don't tend to break legs when they fall out of trees. They're more or less built to do that.
Yeah, they really are.
And we do have flying squirrels here.
We do have flying squirrels here. Very few flying squirrels, but we never see those because they never hit the ground.
We had one the other week. He didn't make it, unfortunately. They're cute, but
they're really cute.
They'll do some damage too, given the opportunity.
Yeah, they're like sugar gliders. The wild
sugar gliders for those of you that own them, I'm sorry in advance. Sugar gliders are mean. They're cute. They're mean.
Well, they're mean to us. They're nice to you, hopefully.
Sometimes,
maybe. Coming from people that have owned sugar gliders, they're not. Yeah, no. But yeah, so when you see a squirrel, try not to touch it. Just really keep an eye on it. Because a lot of the times when you bring in a squirrel to us that's just stunned, it's causing additional stress to that animal to be here, because this is not like a quiet hospital zone.
We have a lot going on.
Yeah, there's dogs barking, there's cats meowing, there's people talking, and all of that is like a huge stressor to wildlife and can actually cause them to stress out and be more likely to die.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
You know, a large part of it, if they are obviously injured, pretty much any animal that needs to come in, if it's obviously injured, it has to come in. But the stress of handling these things, or, you know, if you find it and you're like, well, I'm just going to keep him inside for a couple of days and try to rehab him myself, those animals do get more stressed and they are more prone to, the technical term is mortality, but they are more prone to dying. So the less you have to mess with one of those things, the better. Because we're also not trying to get them used to people, you know? Like, we find them, you don't want to coddle it and baby it and get it used to you. They don't make good pets.
No. But more than that too, if you get a squirrel or a bird, because songbirds are really bad for like imprinting on people. If you get them used to you, then that means that they're used to people in general, and they're more likely to approach random people, which can cause them to get injured. They can walk up to stray cats that are around humans or dogs, and that's just a really bad situation. You want wildlife to be afraid of you, which sounds awful, but
wildlife has to stay wild.
Exactly.
It's one of those things too, like people always, you know, you end up finding the baby raccoon or the baby squirrel and you're like, oh, this is adorable, I want to keep this. You really don't want to, because A, it's illegal in the state of North Carolina to keep wild mammals. Anything that can be found outside, you cannot own. There are some weird like USDA facilities or zoos obviously that can get around that. You're not one of those facilities, don't do it. But, you know, if you have that raccoon for a little bit and then it scratches you and you let it go, it's now used to people. It's going to approach people wanting food or snacks or whatever. That raccoon is then getting animal control called on it because someone thinks it's rabid, and it's not going to end well for the raccoon either.
No. And we don't want to do that. So keep wildlife wild. Don't touch them. So squirrels, again, observe. If it's like a baby, eyes aren't open, you can always leave it, keep a good eye on it throughout the day, see if mom will come back for it. Sometimes they won't, like if they get blown out of the nest in like a big storm. In those cases, you can obviously bring them to us. Sometimes it can be really difficult to find rehabbers for those, but we also have some staff members that can rehab those as well. But don't try to give it milk at home. Don't give it water, don't give it seed. They do have to have very specific diets for them to absorb those nutrients and stay healthy. Yeah,
and a lot of these animals too, you know, people are, Bugs Bunny has it so ingrained in the culture that that rabbit wants a carrot. They don't want a carrot. That's not what they eat. So if you're, you know, you find this thing late at night, we're not open, you can't get a hold of a rehabber to get, you know, come and take care of the animal, you're going to have to do a little bit of research on what you can give it overnight to keep it going. And cow's milk isn't on the list. Most nuts are not going to be on the list. It's seeds and it's grasses and it's stuff from outside that you might not have readily access to.
Yeah.
And it gets hard. So the best thing to do is either leave it be and hope that mom comes back, or if you can, get a hold of a rehabber or us, even if it is just the next day you have to bring it in. Keep it warm, keep it quiet, keep it in a dark place.
Yeah. Rabbits, we see a lot of baby rabbits this time of year. If you come across a nest just in the yard, mom only comes like twice a day, morning and dusk, dawn and dusk. So they're not abandoned. You can just leave them there. You can do like the tic-tac-toe board, the cross hatches on top, and you can see that that's disturbed, that mom has come back and is feeding them. But don't kidnap them. Mom will come back.
Be careful too. Like unfortunately, I'm guilty of doing this once, and thankfully I didn't cause any harm, but their nests are covered in the yard usually. It's some fur plus or minus kind of thing, a whole bunch of grass and everything. So it does just look like part of your yard. That's how they hide the nest. When you go to mow, try to give your yard a quick sweep over because mowers can cause some really bad harm. I found a nest that way again. Thankfully didn't hit any of the babies, but I was scared for a minute. I was not happy about that.
And that's one of the big things that we see here when someone brings in like a litter of baby rabbits. It's normally because of a lawnmower or cats.
Cats and dogs. Yeah. Which I think this is as good a time as any. If possible, keep your cats indoors at all times. It's more dangerous for them, but it's also dangerous for the wildlife. The stat is somewhere around 80% of all animals that interact with a cat, be it birds or things like squirrels and rabbits or snakes and lizards, around 80% of them do not make it through the encounter. Even if you don't see wounds on the outside, the stress of the situation gets to them.
Yeah.
And it's a very bleak statistic, and I'd rather just not have to worry about that.
Exactly. And it keeps your cats from getting hit by a car. To be honest. Yeah.
That's one of the other dangers.
Yeah, one of the other
We can talk about that on another podcast.
And then our last small furry exotic is possums, which out of all three, honestly, I think I would rather have the squirrel than the possum. Possums normally will just like hiss at you, but those teeth.
They look nasty. I don't know if I've ever had one try to bite me.
Once I've had one try to bite me. Okay. Only once, but they look crazy.
They're the so ugly it's cute of the
Absolutely.
mammal world
I love
in North Carolina.
They're so cute.
And sometimes you look at the adults and you're just like, you're really not that cute. And then after a minute you're like, all right.
Okay, that's really cute.
Babies are adorable, and it is baby season, so if you guys are driving down the road, you have the availability to, and you see a possum that's on the side of the road, you can check the pouch for babies. The issue, I guess, is the way I'll phrase it, that we have right now is we don't have rehabbers that will take care of baby possums that are too small. They just don't have the means to feed them and nurse them and do all that stuff. So if they are too small, we may end up having to euthanize, but
it's nicer than this side.
Yeah, leaving and sitting.
Because they are the only North American marsupials, so you have to think of them like kangaroos, really. So they mature in the pouch. So they're born almost this like pink, premature looking creature.
The size of your pinky nail.
Yeah, they're
so
tiny.
They're almost alien.
Yeah, so it's just not sustainable to rehab these guys because there's not a way to really do it.
Yeah. And I don't know if this is old wives' tale or whatever you want to call it, but some people do say if you find mom and the babies are still latched, not to remove them. I would say err on the side of caution and just bring in mom, and unfortunately mom's probably passed at that point, but we'll let the babies do their thing. We can weigh them when they're done nursing. We'll call rehab, see if we have somebody for them.
Yeah. And those are kind of the easier, I think, of the three for rehab purposes.
Lots of people like possums, and after a point they get pretty easy.
They do. They really do get pretty easy. And they're very, very cute when they're little.
Yes. Yeah. So I would say, in summary for mammals, if it's obviously hurt or injured, bring it in. If it's a baby and you can't find mom, depending on species, like possums obviously, they gotta come in. You can't just leave those, but squirrels, rabbits, leave them for a few hours, check in on them dawn dusk. If mom still hasn't come back, they haven't been moved, put it back in the nest, whatever, bring them in. Otherwise, try to leave them alone.
Yeah, I mean, I think that with a lot of wildlife, it's leave it alone. Yeah. Okay, so here's the big one. Coming up into summer is songbird season, which people need to realize that a lot of birds, not just songbirds, but your geese and your raptors, are federally protected. There's 3 species that are not? Barn swallows, starlings.
I can't remember the other, but it's the things that would be invasive aren't protected as long as we still have the Migratory Bird Protection Act. Yeah. Which I know at some point they were trying to get rid of, and
to my understanding, I think we still have it. Yeah.
From what I gather, it was blocked. But either way, all of them are protected. You cannot harass, injure, kill, or contain any of these birds legally.
Or move their nest. And I think that that's a big one with Canada geese because they're so protective of their nest. If you have one nesting somewhere on your property, you have to leave it alone. You literally cannot touch that.
Yeah, and the big thing, because from what I gather, they're considered a non-game species in North Carolina. I know that much. From what I gather, the Wildlife Resources Commission sometimes does allow the nest to be messed with, but you do have to contact them.
The game warden.
Yeah, and they will tell you what you can and can't do, and whether or not you even can. And it's a little bit of a hassle sometimes to get a hold of them, so usually it's just not worth it. Yeah. But anything that's considered a migrator, even if it has permanent nesting in North Carolina, cannot be messed with in any way, shape, or form. And in theory, even if you find that pretty feather out in the woods, that is considered owning a part of the animal, and that can be a fine.
Yeah.
Is anyone going to fine you on it? Probably not. That's a huge stretch to be like, that's a blue jay feather. Here's a $10,000 fine, but
don't get caught with it, just don't have it.
Don't wake up the wildlife officer on the wrong side of the bed.
Exactly. You're right. So right now, a lot of eggs are getting laid for our songbirds, for our geese. So coming up in a month or two, you're going to start seeing what we call fledglings, which are fully feathered birds that are not really flying yet. They're trying to figure it out.
The feathering isn't, you look at it and you can say 100% I know that's an adult male cardinal. They don't have the full regular feathers. They've got usually pin feathers on the wings, so you look at them, there's feathers there. They're not fully grown in or anything yet. But they usually May, June-ish, depending on species, sometimes later, usually not earlier, but they will start falling out of the nest on purpose. They are trying to learn how to fly. That is how they do it. So if you find a bird on the ground and it is not injured, leave it be.
Yep, because, Mom and Dad are there.
Yep, Mom and Dad are watching it. He is trying to learn how to fly, and if you move him, not only is he not learning how to fly, and again, this is potentially a little bit of a myth, but there's a chance they could get rejected by the parents and not allowed back in the nest, and obviously we don't want that.
No, we want them to be taken care of. So if they have like an obviously broken wing or blood or something like that, that's when you can pick them up and bring them to us. Otherwise, that's like the #1 songbird that we get brought in about June-ish, are fledglings that really were like, here, take this right back where it came from, which is why when people bring us wildlife, we tell you to stay until we have a doctor evaluate, because 9 times out of 10, we're like, this is completely healthy, please take it back home.
Yeah. And I will say too, when it comes to nests, because we have had over the years several people, we had one guy claim he found a nest in his walls. No, it didn't. But don't relocate the nest, because if you take that nest out of where it's supposed to be and you're not also bringing me Mom and Dad, they now have no idea what those babies are. They're not taking care of babies or eggs or whatever might be in there, and you have just doomed those poor little baby birds. Like, there's nothing I can do to help them. We cannot nurse birds super well. Either Mom and Dad do it or they're gone. Yeah. And so is it really worth it for you to say this nest was above my porch, I don't want it there, just to doom those birds? It's not. Leave them be. They'll be gone in 2 months. You're fine. Yeah. And then you can move the nest.
And then you can keep the nest.
Yeah, do whatever you want to with it.
Yeah, they're pretty great. So that's the big thing with birds. And again, this is keep your cats inside and, do a quick yard check before you let your dogs out during the months where you're going to have these fledglings, because they can't really get away yet because they can't fly. Yeah.
They can waddle a little bit, but they're not faster than your dog is.
They're definitely not faster than your cat.
That obviously is songbirds and baby birds. If you find, because this happens, the hawk or the owl or the whatever, heck, when I lived close by a few years ago, there was an owl that was just on the porch. I woke up to go get my mail, owl was there, went inside, finished getting ready for it, came back out, owl was still there. You see these things, or they're on the side of the road, you worry they get hit, don't just grab it. Their beaks can hurt, that's not really the big thing, but those feet, we have those thick leather gloves downstairs. I have gotten a talon into the finger through one of the gloves before. They are sharp.
Me too.
And they are strong.
Yeah.
If you need to pick them up, something thick to protect your hands. If you've got garden gloves, leather gardening gloves, that can help, or a couple layers of towel. Then put them in a box pretty quick, close the box, and keep your hands safe.
Or the better option,
leave them alone.
Leave them alone. Or the other option is you call animal control.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, they are more equipped for this.
Well, animal control knows that we work with these things too. There are a couple of wildlife removal people, like John Deal, who he's a great guy, and he'll just show up sometimes and, hey doc, I've got a bird for you, and doesn't even tell me he's coming, but it's like, all right, put it down on the table, we'll take a look at it. Yeah. So there are a lot of people know that we're here and that we do this. So if you contacted them and tell them where this animal is, that they can go get it and bring it in too.
Yeah.
And they're safer about it, which I don't know. We haven't seen one in a few years, but herons.
Yeah, you gotta be really careful with waterfowl that have the long beaks, like your herons or your storks, because they'll go for your eyes.
If you don't have anything to protect your face, don't go near them, because they preferentially will peck at your eyes.
Yeah.
And you don't want that big of a beak going towards your face, trust me.
No. Yeah, we rarely see those, and they're fragile. Oh, yeah. They're like glass. Yeah. They're so difficult to care for. Those and...
chameleons.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say vultures.
Yeah, vultures.
Yeah. Vultures, be very careful if you pick those up, because they have a lot of the same issues that you have with raptors, where they are pretty sharp and pointy, but they also vomit as a defense mechanism.
Projectile.
And if you know what they eat, that's not the greatest situation to have on you, in your car, in a box.
Yeah. And I'll
We have
preface.
seen them here, but
We've seen a few, and I'll preface it with they're cool animals. I do
they're really
like
great.
them. They don't smell great because of what they eat either. So if you're gonna try to grab one, maybe wear something you don't care about.
Yeah.
For multiple reasons.
Yeah.
I, knock on wood, have had the good fortune of dodging the vomit. I have yet to have one throw up on me. Now the next one I see probably will.
Absolutely, you're done for.
It has happened to other doctors here, and you can smell it across the hospital.
Yep.
It's not fun.
Oh, it's bad. Yeah, that, and then the very last wildlife that we do get here rarely are the snapping turtles.
Quite a few turtles and snakes
Yeah.
and lizards and stuff, but we can save that for another episode.
I think we can too. But we'll just say don't touch the snapping turtles.
Beware of the face. Very, very strong, very sharp.
Yeah. And I think that that's pretty much all the wildlife that we're going to see this time of year. And then the big takeaway is don't touch it.
Yep.
And if you have to touch it, animal control is a really good option because this is what they're trained to deal with.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And you can always call us. And we prefer that you call before you just show up with wildlife.
Absolutely.
So we can make sure that we have appropriate staff to deal
Staff
with
is
that.
the big one
Yeah.
because it's mostly myself and Dr. Spindell are the
Mhm.
only ones that really do them. Dr. Salioniga will see a couple
Yeah.
here and there, but if for some reason he and I are both out, vacation, sick, whatever, there might not be anybody here to help with it. And then there are other hospitals that do it occasionally, so we
Yeah.
can always send them elsewhere.
Or the North Carolina Zoo does have their
Mhm.
wildlife rehab facility, and you can call them and they can give you advice on what to do. And they do intake a lot of wildlife, and they take pretty much everything. So they're a really wonderful resource for rehabbing them in-house and then making sure that they are releasable.
And if they can't, they have a big network of people they can send it to help them out as well.
Yeah, for education animals too.
And then I will say too, we don't get a lot of calls about deer. We do get the occasional one. Deer, especially fawns, if they are still spotted, the big thing is just leave them alone. Similar to the rabbits, mom does not really stay with or near them unless she's actively nursing, and you will never see that.
Nope.
She will leave them alone. If you find them, mom will come back. Leave it alone. Chronic wasting disease is a big thing right now. It is a prion disease. If you know anything about prion disease, they are
it's bad.
maybe as terrifying, if not more so, than rabies, because chronic variant, that's spelled Jacob's disease or CJD.
Yeah.
Mad cow disease, chronic wasting disease. There are a bunch of them. They're not curable either, so we don't want to mess with those. But
And it's hard to clean after you touch that. And it's hard to, like, if you put that in your car with no good protection, I'm sorry, your car's toast. Like, there's nothing to clean that. There's nothing to kill that.
Yeah.
So you don't, it's better to not touch.
Yeah, and because of that, there's some weird kind of rules and regulations going on with rehabbing these guys, or even hunting them and eating them,
Yeah.
which plenty of people do, and there's not inherently anything wrong with that, but the state is doing a very good job of monitoring, but it does mean that any deer that comes here, I have to call the state and see what they want me to do about it. I don't really have any say in it, and I don't know if we have a rehabber at all for deer right now.
Not because of chronic wasting. None of them are willing to take them just because of, they can't, they would never be able to clean afterwards and be able to take more deer. So, unfortunately, if they come in here, that's pretty much the end of the line, which is sad.
If you see one get clipped by a car and its leg is very obviously just going, please bring it in. I am happy to help. He's suffering. I don't want to risk one coming in here that potentially could be rehabbed just for me to have to call the state for them to tell me that I have to euthanize it anyways.
Exactly, like a healthy fawn that someone has kidnapped.
Yep.
Leave that alone. But we always want to ease suffering. That's our number one goal for wildlife.
Deer are also strong. There was an adult that came in before we were worried about chronic wasting that beat the crap out of Doc and I.
I think I remember this,
It was a fighter. It did have a broken leg, and that one leg was the only thing it wasn't using.
They're stronger than people.
Oh
yeah, they're huge too. So be careful. Like, if I know that a lot of people have their heart in the right place, but remember that they can seriously injure you. Anything that you pick up out of the wild can seriously injure you, because everything for them is fight or flight. Like, they don't know that you're helping them. And if they're frozen, it's because they're afraid of you, not because they think that you're helping them.
Yeah, and a good rule of thumb, working with snakes, which again, we'll talk about them later, anything with a mouth can bite. People always ask me, is that snake going to bite you? It could if it wanted to. If it has a mouth, it can bite. If it has nails, it can scratch. And a lot of our wildlife is very ready to use those two weapons to protect themselves if they have to.
Exactly. So, the long and short of it is, if you find truly injured or orphaned wildlife, we are absolutely an excellent resource for you. You can call us, or you can message us on social media. We're not going to respond as quickly there. Phone call is normally the best way. You can reach out and we can give you advice on what you can do for these animals. And we'll put up some resources on our social media pages, kind of giving an idea of what healthy looks like versus injured versus orphaned, so that people can know the difference. And that if we're not available, like if it's a Saturday afternoon, because that's inevitably when everything happens, North Carolina Zoo is an excellent option for wildlife rehab. Or you can call the game warden, or you can call animal control.
Absolutely. And there are too, if for some reason none of those people are available, let's say it's Christmas Day and you found something, which probably not going to happen, but if you can't get a hold of anybody, there are usually very good detailed flow charts online of if you found an animal, what to look for to tell you this is what you need to do. And a lot of them do end up with leave it alone because, a lot of people, you're trying to do the nice thing. You're trying to be helpful. Sometimes you aren't, and you're just kind of overestimating your abilities. You might think you're Snow White or whatever. You're not probably helping, but those charts will tell you, hey, if it's bleeding, if you can see this injury, it's got a whole bunch of parasites and it's not moving, like all of these things, the flow chart will say, yes, that needs help, please collect it. And then a lot of the times, especially like with birds, does it have feathers? Yes, leave it alone.
Yeah. Those are pretty simple. All right. Anything else? I
don't think so.
About covered it. Well, we'll see you back for the next Wildlife with Warden, which will be reptiles or the exotic animals that you do keep as pets, and we do see.
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens next. So thanks for joining us for our second episode of Life Aboard the Ark, and we'll see you next time.
Yeah, sounds good. Everybody take care.